There are many ways to develop, build, and test C++ programs in macOS. But the most common way, and in my opinion, one of the easiest ways to do that in macOS is to use the Xcode integrated development environment. The Xcode integrated development environment does not come by default with macOS. So you have to open the App Store, and once you have the App Store, what you can do is go look for or search for Xcode. Once you search for Xcode, you will see the Xcode developer tool listed. And if you have not installed it previously, you will see a Get button here. I have already installed it. And if you are to develop C++ applications in macOS, this is one of the good ideas that you should be trying to develop C++. So go ahead and do that installation and then continue with what I'm going to show you in this video. So once you have that installed, you can open up Xcode here. So the Xcode opens up. So let me, and the Xcode will greet you with this welcome screen. And Xcode actually bundles a C++ or C and C++ compiler called Clang. So basically, Apple calls it the Apple Clang compiler, which is a fork of the open source Clang compiler toolchain. So so in macOS, you can use Xcode IDE to develop, but as I mentioned, there are other ways to do that one as well. But if you're using macOS, this is one good way. So let's quickly create a new project. And when you click new project, you will see various tabs here. So Xcode supports developing application for iOS, macOS, watchOS, and so forth. So I have only installed the macOS SDK, but if you are to develop any iOS applications, you will have to install the SDK related to that as well. So you can do that afterwards, after you have initially installed Xcode. So macOS comes as a default SDK anyway. So once you click that thing, so you have various different types of applications that you can develop. So the one that I'm gonna show right now is the command line tool, because if you're to learn C++, this is the type of application that you will be mostly developing. But there are other types of applications as well. If you're an expert C++ developer and trying to do development, other types of applications, you can also do so with the Xcode as well. So let's click on command line and click next. And I can give it a name saying my first Xcode project. It doesn't you can give any name that you like. And test organization, test identifier, you can put anything as you like. And if you uh, you know under the language section, if you just click the drop down, Xcode by default supports Swift, Objective C, C++, and C development. Choose C++, of course, because this is a C++ tutorial. So click next, and you can choose where you want to have this project installed. I have already created a folder called C++ in one location in my hard disk. You can choose any location that you like. It can be your desktop, it can be your documents folder, whichever that you choose, this should work. So I choose this, I'll choose that, and then once you do that thing, it creates a project. As you can see, I'll just expand this for better visibility. And you see on the left pane, and this is what you call the navigation pane, where you navigate your files, all that. So if you just click on this thing, as you can see, it automatically actually has created a C++ source code for me. So this is a simple hello world program, which is very much traditional for any programming language to the learning experience to start with. So people usually write a hello world program. So C++ has already the Xcode has already given that for me. So now how do I build this and execute? How do I test this? So it's simple matter of clicking this play button. So once you do that thing, you will see the build details coming up here. If there were any errors in your code, it will show up here, and it will also show up in the editor window as well. And it also ran my code. Of course, it printed hello world. So this is quite simple, and I can make changes to this. In this video, I'm not going to explain the details of various C++ constructs and so forth, but just to show you that this code works, you can just type in along with me, and I'm just creating a new variable called string, and here in this case I'm gonna delete this, and I'm gonna print instead of hello world, I'm gonna print the name that I just added. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So I just want to show you these changes get affected, and once you make the changes, click save. You can also do the save from here, file save button, and then run it again. And this time, of course, you see hello David instead hello world. So this is the automatically generated source code is the traditional way of writing C++. This is still a valid C++ and a correct way of writing. But starting from C++ standard 20, C++ supports this concept called modules, which makes the build process easier. If you had been looking at my first video, and you would know what C++ modules are. And to see if that works fine here, you have to get rid of these. So I'll just get rid of this. So to do that, I'll just use the import statement and import std. And then it supports something called std println. And then I will say hello world, and close it. And when I do that, you see two error pops up, and it says unknown type name import. So it doesn't really understand what I'm saying here. So to make it work, actually, so what you need to do is, so you can go select your project. And first of all, I need to also show you when you select the project, you can go to the build settings, and under the build settings, you can go to the C++ section, C++ language dialect. You can choose that, and by default it has selected GNU C++ 20, GNU plus 20, but there are other options as well which you can select from here. For example, you can just select C++ 20, C++ 23, GNU plus 23. So I'm not going to talk about the differences between those. So when it comes to GNU, there may be a few non-standard additions in the compiler, which may come useful in your application. So that's might be a reason why you want to select that. So I'll select this. So you can either select this or say this, because modules are supported since C++ 20. This should work fine. Even if I choose this, my error still remains. So that's because in these compilers, you had to specifically say that you're interested in using modules in your target. And so that's because the one that I already showed you is still a valid C++, and by far, I mean, millions of codes have been written in that format. So C++ does not intend to break those changes. So to get this thing work, so what you can do is you can go select the project on the left pane, And then on the targets, you can select build phases. Under the build phases, you have compile sources section. Under this compile sources section, you can choose compiler flags. Double click that, and here you can type in any compiler flags. So you have to specifically enable so these flags name CX6 modules, and also the F stands for compiler flags, right? So you have to enable these two to get it working. So this is what made it work for me. So it's enabled. So once you have these things and you go back to your source code and try to compile it, now, oh yeah, so there's another error. So it says now the error at the std line disappeared, and now of course I have a syntax error. So this is something that we get from compilers warn you and throws errors when it comes to any syntax errors. So I just click on the type in the semicolon there and build it again, and there you go. So module support is also available in Xcode as well as in C++. I also want to quickly show another way of, that you can, another way to, develop, build, and test your C++ codes, that is with the command line without an IDE. So for that, you can use any code editor. You can use VS Code. You can use a Notepad. You can use any text editor. So in this case, I'm going to use the VI editor. So if you go here, I have a folder already created under test section called Mac test, and I'm going to create this code called Mac test.cpp. You can create this file any way that you like. So I'm gonna copy paste this code because I don't want to compile it, type it again. And here you can paste it. Oops, I think it did not work. Something else popped up. Let's try this. Still no. Okay, so let me try. I don't know whether I really copied it. Yeah, it works fine. So now you have this code here. Now, so once you save the code, you can open it, you can still see the code, and you can use the command line. The command line is the Clang C++. You can see the version of the Clang C++ compiler with this. With developer tools installed with Xcode, it also installs the GNU compiler collection as well within that. So it can also be used if you would like to use that. So I'll use Clang here, Clang++, and I want to output the -o will say what should be my output executable thing. So I'll say Mac test, and then my CPP file. If I just do that, you get the same error that you got in your Xcode, right? So it says unknown type name import, and std is not a class, namespace, or enumeration because it doesn't understand that. So to do that, of course, just like what we did in our Xcode editor, we need to add these flags, modules, and modules. So once you do that, it still doesn't work. So that's because I need to explicitly state what's my std standard that I'm intending to use here. So I'm going to use C++ 23. For that, you have to use 22b. And then, as you see, it gets compiled without any error. And if you go, you see this Mac test file included, and you can execute that in command line this way, and of course you get the output as hello world. So this is a very brief video on how to build, how to develop, build, run, and test your C++ applications in Mac using both Xcode and command line. See you soon with another episode on C++ development. Have a nice day. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button to get notifications.